Well, doesn't this look familiar? It's an Audi R8, but not the R8 we know. It's an all-new one. It has a meaner face, lasers for eyes, and a fixed carbon wing. Its 5.2 litre V10 produces 602 brake horsepower and delivers it to all four wheels. This is the R8 V10 Plus, the fastest R8 you can buy today.
I remember when the original R8 came out, it looked unlike anything else. It really was a pretty car. It was also usable because you could see out of it and you could put things in it. It challenged the 911 in the everyday usability stakes, and its V8 engine, well that's one of my favourite engines of all time. It was also Tony Stark's car, and I really like Iron Man, so it made it pretty good in my books. And this new one, well, Audi hopes it'll build on the successes of the old one.
It's not much of a secret that the R8 and the Lamborghini Gallardo shared a few key things, not least the engine in the V10 R8. The same is true of the new R8 and the Huracan. They have the same layout and some remarkably similar toys. In the V10 Plus version of the R8, this one has the same 602 brake horsepower engine to play with from launch.
The power is aided to the road by a 7-speed dual-clutch transmission that can send 100% of the torque to the front or the back as needed. Sadly, there isn't a manual option for this or the Lambo Huracan. It seems that is a thing of the past now, as is a V8 option, which I think is a crying shame because the last gen's V8 is one of the best sounding engines ever. You might recognise it.
Also gone are the distinctive side blades that looked a bit weird to start with and then just made sense. On top of that, the new R8 can weigh up to 50 kilos lighter than before thanks to aluminium, carbon fibre and some clever engineering. Audi's managed to make a 602 brake horsepower, 413 pound-foot car that can hit 62 from rest in 3.2 seconds and will top 205 miles an hour. It'll do 0 to 124 in less than 10 seconds if you're feeling brave as well.
The interior is loaded with lots of toys. You've got big comfy seats, a virtual cockpit like what you get on the TT, and lots of buttons on the steering wheel, one for starting the engine, making the exhaust noisy, the turbo mega nutter button, even though this isn't a turbocharged engine, and the drive select and all the audio stuff as well. So there is lots and lots of tech, but what is it actually like to drive? 7-speed gearbox, absolutely amazing. When you're in dynamic mode, which is Audi E's for sport, it can be quite aggressive. It'll change quite harshly and it can jolt the car, so it makes you feel either like you fluffed a manual change or you're in a racing car. I think they were going for the latter rather than the former. In normal mode, in comfort, it's actually really pleasant. Dynamic, it can be a bit harsh on the springs, but in normal mode, it's just really nice. Been bimbling around the smoothish mountain roads and the ride's been really supple. It's been really quite pleasant. However, you probably don't want to hear about comfort mode because, well, that's a bit boring really, isn't it? So here's the rub. In dynamic mode, in torrential rain, my God, it gathers pace. It is so fast. It's kind of take your breath away, ooh, heart in your mouth. Good Lord, this is quick. This shouldn't be going so quick. The road's soaking wet. I'm being irresponsible fast. It's awesome. Its 0 to 62 time is on par with the Huracan, obviously, but also a 911 Turbo S. But the way it delivers its power is very different. 911, big dollop of torque and a kick in the kidneys. This, very smooth, very linear, but very aggressive. Now, grip-wise, we have been utilising the Quattro system. Lots of lovely four-wheel drive action. It has a surprisingly large amount of grip. Terrifyingly so. I shouldn't have been able to get round some of these corners in, say, a rear-wheel drive car at the speeds I've been managing, but the car seems to feel very flat, very level, say like a proper supercar. The steering I've got a bit of an issue with. It doesn't sit quite right with me. It takes a while to find its groove, and then once you hook it up, you feel it work properly. I mean, I can get to work with it. Hello. Quattro. You get to work with it, but it doesn't feel the most precise in the world. The traction control system, I will say, is top notch because I should have been killed twice today thanks to the weather. The brakes, carbon ceramic, they're interesting because I find them a little bit grabby, but once you start to get to learn them, they feel a little bit more natural. I think these are the kind of brakes that you really need to spend some time getting to learn and to figure out. Now, I've said a lot that this car shares much with the Huracan, and, well, it does, there's no denying that. However, with the Italian, you feel it's a little bit more delicate. You don't really want to prod it the wrong way for fear something might fall off, but the Audi feels a little bit more solid, a bit less special as a consequence. The Lamborghini feels infinitely more special than the R8, but this feels a bit more solid. Now, this being the V10 Plus, we've got a carbon fibre wing on the back as standard, and they say it's to generate lots and lots of downforce. I don't think that's true. I just think it's so people who have bought these can identify other people with the same amount of money. And the people with the normal V10 with a retractable little spoilery thing, well, they'll just look down on them, which is a bit of a shame, because I'm told the base R8 is pretty amazing.
Now here's the rub. The R8 and the Huracan that shares some of its bits with are becoming something of an oddity. While neither have a manual, both have mid-mounted, naturally aspirated V10 engines.
Look at Ferrari, it's just gone turbocharged. It's got its California T for turbo and 488 GTB. The new 911, that's gone by turbo, and the Merc AMG GT has 2 turbos on board as well. The cars that are coming out are changing, our roads are evolving, much to the chagrin of purists who unfortunately have much to say, but, well, can buy very little. And don't worry, that's not just a pop at you, I'm one of them.
Look at how much has changed since the rose-tinted good old days of, for example, the Ferrari 355. Auto gearboxes aren't cack anymore, in fact they're faster than man. Big engines don't have to be ruinous. The V10 in this R8 has a cylinder shut-off system, so when you're cruising only 5 cylinders are used.
So that means, in theory, you can get a little over 30 mpg in this and do more than 200 miles an hour. That sounds quite good. I wish it actually worked that way. But still, this car has left me thinking, what's left for the naturally aspirated engine? I mean, Aston Martin's going to stick with its V12 for as long as humanly possible, but then that just leaves the R8 and the Huracan. And their run's going to be what? Best part of a decade, and then they'll be replaced. And then I suppose, well, what do we get? Big boosty power and more MPG for all?
That's no bad thing in reality. It's better for the environment and all that. It also means there's more oil for longer. But is this one of the last guardians of the naturally aspirated supercar castle? I fear it may be.
And what a thing to go out with. A screaming V10 with more power and performance than you really know what to do with, and a car that not only looks good, but more importantly feels good. For my brief time with it, the old R8 was good, but the new one's better.
Named after a breed of fighting bull, the Huracan has a difficult job to do. It's got to be better than its very successful older brother and still be a Lamborghini. Something that might be tricky to do.